The last time I played on Hustler Casino Live, I won $658,200, booking one of the largest wins of my life. But even that insanity couldn't prepare me for what's about to happen in this 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 big blind game here in Las Vegas.
Nearly $250,000 in the pot. The river is... Rampage's mouth is wide open. Look at it's just like, what is going on here? The man, the myth, the legend, it is Rampage. One of the more entertaining poker players you'll ever see out there.
We're playing another massive game with a $50,000 minimum buy-in, and fireworks are bound to happen. This is already a very high-stakes stream, and the pots I play will be some of the largest of my entire life that will just boggle your mind. And the first hand of the day starts off as a friendly one. Sakis limps in for $400 to start, and I pick up ace-6 offsuit and call as well. This becomes a four-way limped pot, which looks like a promising start on ace-9-5 2 hearts. After everyone checks it to me on the button, I throw 1,000 out there to see what develops, and both Gaston and Yo make the call. The turn brings another 9 on the board, and this isn't the best card for me, and I feel like my weak kicker with top pair makes the most sense to check back. We go to see a free river card, which comes another 9, basically giving me the nuts with the best full house on the board. What's fishy is that Gaston leads for 1,000, a teeny tiny bet that I'm quite suspicious of. Yo Viral calls 1,000, and I don't know if I'm getting trapped here, but I don't see how I can get paid by worse hands, so I call. Toss in $1,000 chip out there to be on the conservative side, and thank goodness I did. Gaston was fishing for a raise as he shows quads. His ace-9 was ahead the whole way, and although I lost, this definitely could have been a lot worse. So 20 minutes into the game, I've lost a few hands now, and I'm starting off down $15,000. But guys, it's early, and in a game like this, you only need one hand. And 2 minutes later, we get involved as I put on the $800 straddle. Gaston raises under the gun to $2,400. With ace-7 offsuit, this feels like a comfortable hand to defend, so I put in the call. And the flop comes queen, queen, 3 rainbow. Gaston bets $1,800, and I'm sitting with an ace. There's a lot of air that he could have here in the situation, so I feel like I could be ahead or have plenty of opportunity to improve. I call and see a turn, which is the king of clubs. This brings in a backdoor flush draw, and conveniently enough, I have the ace of clubs that works in my favor here. Gaston fires $3,600 into the middle now, and I'm once again suspicious of this bet. But this time, it isn't from a position of strength, but rather weakness. I take the opportunity to pounce on this perception and check raise to 10.5 thousand. Perhaps I could rep the story of having a strong hand or flush draw if a club comes on the river, but Gaston takes his time here, and with the way that he continues, I get the sense that I could perhaps bluff one more time and get him to fold something better than ace high. But I preferably would love to see a club that could be a scare card, and the river is the 5 of spades. It's black, but the wrong kind of black card. I was hoping to see a club, but with $22,000 left in my stack, I didn't play my hand in this manner to give up now. I go all in and stick with my plan, and if my read is wrong, I'll be down $50,000 in the first 30 minutes of this game. And that's just kind of the volatility we have to sign up for in high stakes games like these. Stick with what my gut is telling me, and if we are punting into a king or even a queen, I'm willing to die. But Gaston doesn't seem to have anything too great, because after 1 minute of thinking it through, he folds! That is a wonderful start, as this bluff gets me even on the night so far, and I was trying to ram punt it off, but here we are collecting more chips here. And the action is just getting underway, and 10 minutes later, I raise it up to 2,000 with ace queen. And suddenly, Yo Viral just goes all in for 30,000? What in the world is going on here? Everyone folds to me, and given the action, I think ace queen just has to be the best hand, or flipping at the very worst. I quickly snap call, and we have our biggest pot of the day so far, with 63,000 in the middle, and Yo's got his favorite king 9 and diamonds hand. We are going to run out one board to decide the winner, and I'm happy to see that I'm a favorite, but you know, anything can happen with 5 cards to come. And of course, the flop comes as scary as it gets for me. Yo is loving life seeing he's flopped a flush draw, and now any diamond, 9, or king will give him the lead and equity advantage for now. So I'm just praying to see some black cards, and the turn is the 5 of clubs.
I'm not going to get greedy anymore. I already asked for black, and it'd be too greedy to ask for another one.
The outs on the top of your screen.
And we see the beautiful ace of spades on the river, giving me the check mark as I find a way way to dodge all the outs. I'm winning this big one here, and just like that, I'm up over $40,000 in this game now, and what a great swing in a matter of minutes. Yet 4 minutes later, we get involved with Saki's raising to 1,000. I peel jacks in the small blind and bump up the raising to 6,000. I'm trying to charge being out of position here, and with a larger raise, Saki's continues undeterred. The flop is as safe as it gets on 10-7-4, and I'm feeling like my hand is pretty good and could use some protection. I throw $8,000 in the middle, which is followed by a call, and at this point, Saki's could sometimes have better pairs than me, but I'd love the opportunity to make the maximum if he has a 10 or worse pocket pair. The turn comes a very clean looking 3 of hearts, and with a little more than a pot-sized bet to play for, I try my best by getting it all, by announcing all in here, and sadly Saki's only has an ace high, so we will just stop the action for now, and I'll win another pot, picking up momentum with an already great poker month I'm having so far. And 1 hour into the game, we're up over $66,000, and let's just hope to keep on cruising along and running good, shall we? We're picking up some great cards in the early goings because Saki's raises to 2,000, ace calls, and I look at ace 10 of clubs from the small blind. Given this action, I bump things up to 10,000, but I run into a bit of resistance as Saki's really likes his hand and re-raises to 22,000. Ace folds now and back onto me. It feels really, really likely that I have the worst hand here, so inherently I want to fold. But Saki's made it so small, it feels like he might be baiting me. But one thing is for sure, I'm sun running this month, and gambling in a game like this is always allowed.
I want to fold now again. I will not fold. Strong hand announced.
I make the call, and we see a beautiful 10 high flop, which is the nicest flop to see. I throw a teaser $5,000 bet in. Saki's moves all in for the remaining $12,000 he has left, and it's nice to see I've gotten extremely lucky sucking out, and all I have to do is dodge 3 outs. Saki's decides to run it 2 times, and on both boards, we fade the king. And here comes a $72,000 pot, and sometimes gambling just pays off, as I see the perfect flop here, and I get extremely lucky, giving some action and winning the hand. This was my heat check, and affirmative, the heat is still within me. An hour later, action folds to Nick in the small blind, and he limps in for $400. We're playing deep stack now, and I see a playable 5-6 of clubs and raise it to 3,000. Now Airball springs into action with the limp raise of his own to $15,000. We are playing in position. We've got a very disguised hand. No way I'm folding here, and we'll never shy away from action. I put in the call, and we're building up this pot to $30,000 pre-flop, and we see an opportunistic flop of 10-7-7-2 clubs. We have a lot of potential here with the flush draw, and Nick continues for $20,000. I'm never folding a flush draw here, so if naturally, I'm gonna make the call. In the turn, bink ace of clubs, and that's beautiful, but what's tricky now is that Nick actually checks, and as dreamy as it is to hit a flush, I've got a really small one, so I decide to trap a bit and check back my 6 high flush. The river comes a king, and once again, Nick opts to check, and I feel like Nick can have one of 2 hands. Pocket pairs that hate the ace or king, or I'm a bit wary of him slow playing a full house, so instead of just ripping it all in and scaring away those hands I can get paid from, I announce a bet. And to my surprise, Nick actually has an ace, so I quickly win the largest pot of the night so far. That totaled $160,000, and profiting $80,000 in this hand is amazing, of course, so I'm happy with the result. But at the same time, my wrong read here actually costed me an extra $35,000, but life is great. I'm winning with the flush, I'm sitting with almost $200,000 in my stack, and it's an incredible come up with my $50,000 original buy-in. And now, this is where the night gets a little nuts. We welcome Texas Mike, who sits directly on my right, and brace yourselves, because this 200-400 game that was already big will feel like child's play. Texas Mike has brought some ammo and unlimited action, and in round 1 versus Texas Mike, I have the $800 straddle on, and Mike starts off the action from the big blind with the raise to 3,000. Queen 5 of hearts seems playable enough for this price, so I come along and make the call. The flop comes Queen 9-7 rainbow, and Mike starts off with a check. I decide to slow play top pair and check back, where the turn brings another 9. Once again, we see more passive action from Mike, so I throw $6,000 in the middle, assuming that my hand is best. Mike makes the call, and the river brings another 9, and I don't think Mike has anything too strong, given how he played it, and I'm confident I've got the best hand, and I decide to go for a sizing of $15,000 $15,000 to potentially just get some weaker non-paired or slash full house holdings to get a little curious. And that precisely happens as his ace king makes the call. I show my queen for the best full house and immediately win another $51,000 pot. And we are doing a great job of winning pots so far in the first half of this stream. And to show the sheer craziness of just how big this game gets ramped up, Texas Mike in this hand has been striding like crazy, and he puts on the $12,000 straddle. It's time to pucker up because these amount of straddles will become commonplace. And for context, the largest straddle I've ever put in my life is only $3,500, and this is already 4 times more than that. My heart is racing knowing I'll potentially play the biggest hand in my life tonight, but here we casually watch 2 premiums duke it out for nearly $400,000 in the middle. Ace-6 offsuit versus Queen-Jack, running it one time. And Nick, of course, wins this one as the value and respect of money has been completely thrown out the window. My jaw is just on the floor as we watch another crazy hand where Texas Mike commits $60,000 pre-flop with 9-7 offsuit, and he sadly loses another big pot, but his level of gamble is just unmatched and has to be respected. But I'll try my best to spice up the action in this next hand as I put on the $6,400 straddle. That's right, the game is 200-400 with straddles of 800, 1600, 3200, and my 6400, the largest straddle I've ever put on. So say goodbye to the chill hours of playing 200-400 blinds. Those days are long over now. But here in this hand, Santos limps in for 6400. Texas Mike does too, and I've got 6-4 offsuit, which is kind of a poetic hand with the 6400 straddle on. I check my option and the flop is magical on 7-5-3. We flop the nut straight with $21,000 in the middle. Texas Mike starts off with a bet of $10,000, and I don't think this is ever a time to slow play. There's a lot more to play for, and on a draw-heavy board, I raise it up to $25,000. And back to Mike, he rips it all in. I snap call, and now we are playing 4 stacks. And out of nowhere, this became a $408,000 pot, one of the largest pots I've ever played in my entire life, and it boils down to a cooler situation, his 2-pair versus my flopped straight. I can't begin to describe how much cortisol is running through my veins. I'm incredibly stressed. Even though I'm in great shape to win, Texas Mike only likes to run things one time. So I have the potential to spin up a $50,000 buy-in into $400,000 winning this pot would just be one of the most incredible sun runs I've ever had. We need to fade 4 outs here. And like every Asian at the Baccarat table, I'm streaming for a monkey! Which means face card, by the way. The river seals the deal, and there it is, a monster $400,000 pot coming my way, and I'm just shaking as I count out all of my chips that Texas Mike has to pay me.
Rampage wins it. $408,000 pot. But he is now up well over $250,000, and we are just 2 hours in.
This is a prime example of all the things that could go right if you just gamble a little bit. I'm obviously playing stakes way above my head, but I still put on the 6400 straddle, and had I not, I would have just folded my hand first to act. But with the right circumstances and situation, the gamble paid off big this time, going the best way possible. And now, with my $50,000 original buy-in, I'm sitting with over $350,000 profit in the craziest hand has yet to come. I've got to give credit to my Pokemon cards sitting here in front of me. Before this sun run, I wanted to offload some of my collection, but I think these cards have magical run good powers. And instead of selling the card, Pikachu said, collect them all. Collect all the chips instead. And a few minutes later, the $3,200 straddle is on. Yo Viral starts off with the raise to $7,500. Texas Mike calls, and I look down at pocket eights in the small blind, and I feel it's a little necessary to isolate the field here. I throw a casual raise of $28,000. Yo folds, but Mike is always in for action and calls. The flop doesn't come as clean as I'd hoped for on Ace-Jack 4 all clubs. I've got no clubs in my hand, and things could definitely get dicey, but nevertheless, maybe my pair is ahead of Mike for now. I start with a small $11,000 bet, which is followed up by a call. Well, the turn comes another ace, and now I just check back, as I really have no idea what I can possibly beat now. But the river 3 of diamonds looks pretty safe to me, but when I check it back, I see the bad news, as Mike will win this $90,000 pot with the full house.
My heart was racing from calling the flop.
And this is by far the happiest I've ever looked, getting sucked out on the river, and I could complain about getting a tad unlucky here, but after the pot I just won, I'm just happy to exist in a crazy game like this. $40,000 is certainly a lot of money to lose in this situation, but in order to survive in crazy games like this, you just have to desensitize your brain to the value of money and be okay with losing an actual home here at the table. And now here comes some truly insane action. Martin arrives at the table and the game has just changed to 1,000 blinds with a $2,000 ante. The stakes have just exponentially increased. And here is a prime example of how crazy this game has become. I somehow thought it was a good idea to put on the $8,000 straddle, and action folds to Mike, he raises the $27,000. I look at pocket eights, and there's nothing I can do here. I've never played in a game where pocket eights is worth $80,000, but that's what I decide to 3-bet to. And luckily, Mike just folds, and I profit a simple $39,000 from a raise pre-flop. This is nuts. Every time I put chips in the middle, my heart rate goes crazy, as it's purely life or death for me here today. With the $4,000 straddle in play here, I raised Jack 10 offsuit first act to 10,000, airball lays in the weeds with a call, and Mike comes along too. Well, the flop looks pretty good for me on King 9-3 rainbow. I've got a draw to the nuts with the queen, and I throw $10,000 to start, but we get 0 folds as both opponents call. There's 65k in the middle, and it's just scary to say that this is a small pot now given the stakes. The turn Jack brings me some life, but definitely doesn't feel good enough to put money in the middle. I decide to check back, and we see a bink another Jack. And what's even better news is Nick leads out for 25k. Texas Mike calls, and this pot is ballooning. It feels ambitious to raise for value here, but given all the passive action, it's hard to not think that I just have the best hand. I raise to $100,000, but get quick folds from around the table, and it's another, very casual of course, profit of $95,000 for me in this hand. Quarters all is spiking, guys. I'm in deep waters now, and we're here to spin up as much as possible or just be ready to be felted. With the action today, there will clearly be nothing in between. And in the next crazy series of events, the $8,000 straddle is back on by yours truly. Santos limps in. Texas Mike makes a casual raise to $30,000, and I've got 3-5 of clubs. I'm sitting with over $500,000 in front of me, and 90% of it being profit. I can afford to gamble and give some action here. I call with a fun hand to play with, and Santos calls too, so we've got $94,000 in the middle. Someone help me, please. I have literally such a bad hand, and there's so much money in the middle. Well, the flop comes ace, ace, 3, 2 hearts. So that's a pair, and some could call that opportunity, but Mike starts off with a bet of $25,000, and naturally with bottom pair, why would I ever fold? I make the call, and Santos folds. So now, $144,000 in the middle, and the turn is a 5 of hearts, and Mike quickly checks, and I actually think sometimes I have the best hand. And when I say sometimes, actually, who am I kidding? It's Texas Mike! I know I have the best hand. So I throw what most will call a gigantic bet of $50,000 in the middle, but really it's a small one, considering the pot is already massive. And here Mike goes into the tank.
Can he stay there? Does he fold?
It's not worth it.
Might be thinking.
And he ends up folding face up. Oh my goodness, I am just in utter shock as my jaw falls through the floor. Not only was I incredibly wrong thinking I had the best hand, but I find a way to play this hand as poorly as possible and still win the pot. It seems like an unbelievable hand as I win another $89,000 here, and just unfathomable poker here for obscene amounts of money. I have over $600,000 in my stack now, and that's $550,000 worth of profit. Well, the scary thing is that there's a lot more poker to play, and check the link below if you want to play some poker, and remember my name, Rampage. Here is some of the sickest gambling I've ever seen in my life. Texas Mike jams pocket sevens for a stack of $330,000 and shows Martin his cards because he wants to flip. So naturally, with 2 overcards, Martin calls, and we've got a casual $700,000 pot that Martin ends up winning. And my eyes and soul cannot believe the amount of gamble. I mean, Texas Mike is truly my hero with how much heart he has. But truth be told, guys, I'm so scared and nervous every pot I play, knowing that a fortune is always at risk. And here, Yo Viral joins the table again, and with the $4,000 straddle, I raise up 9-8 of clubs to 10,000. Yo immediately gets involved, and Mike calls too. So we see a flop of ace, king, queen, 2 spades in the club, and I'm thinking that I've got the advantage on a board like this, so I throw nearly a pot-sized bet in the middle. Yo makes the call, which immediately brings siren bells on. So I'm thinking that I'll most likely give up here, and oh, the jack of clubs gives me a chance to do something. With the backdoor flush draw now, I start with a check to see what Yo does, and he checks it back. So we get to see a free card or maybe some extra rope to go into blast off mode. The river, please be a club. 5 of diamonds. No. Now that I've completely bricked out, I really don't think Yo could check back a 10 here. So I'm trying to apply all the pressure into some 2-pair holdings, and I put them all in for an overbet of $200,000. This is one of the biggest bluffs of my life, and it blows right into my face. In pure ram punt style, I was not able to control my bluffing, and just like that, I lose a significant chunk of profit in this hand. I lose almost $250,000, $250,000 down the drain from this one misstep alone. At least I'll never lock up the wins, but this was a tough pill to swallow. And as I am mourning the loss of half of my stack, immediately the next hand is dealt, and I hear Mike announcing all in. What in the world is going on? And I peel my cards looking at king, queen. Oh no. Cortisol, adrenaline, dopamine, all the neurons firing at once, trying to figure out what is going on. Let's try to piece my perspective together here. Across the table, I see a $16,000 straddle, and then more chips in front of ace. What is this? Oh, I'm told that's a $32,000 straddle. And oh dear, reality is sinking. I've only got $300,000 in front of me. That's equivalent to less than 10 big blinds according to the straddle. What does this mean? Am I committing my entire stack? Did I just lose half of my stack 30 seconds ago? And now against all people, king queen offsuit is a good hand to commit versus Texas Mike.
No coaching.
No, really, no coaching, Nick. I am very happy how Ethan is playing. I don't want to improve him.
You're right.
So here's the moment of truth. Remember when I said that we will walk with piles or 0? It's coming to fruition now, and it rests on the strength of king queen off. I call and commit my $300,000 in there, and luckily everyone else folds behind. But this could not be more nerve-wracking. 2 minutes ago, I was celebrating being up over $550,000, and now if I lose this hand, my roller coaster ride will come crashing down to a realized loss of $50,000.
I'm just swinging so much of my net worth.
If my facial expression doesn't show it, this is what a nervous breakdown looks like at the table. My heart rate has spiked through the roof, and the fate of a large percentage of my net worth weighs in the balance of the next 5 cards to come. Since Texas Mike only runs it one time, we have Martin screaming for a 6 in the background. This is single-handedly the largest part of my poker career, as all the money on the table is mine. And the next 5 cards will be the most pivotal 5 cards of my entire life. I am an 80% favorite to win the hand, but we know from the last 2 years of playing poker, 20% feels like 50% to me. I say a quick prayer, and here we go, the moment of truth.
Yeah, he put smell 6. Do that, Dylan. Really.
Hey, a heart rate monitor. Holy
7
fuck.
or 9, okay? Something. 6, 7, or 9, but preferably 6. Guys, let's flip
10,
it.
8.
Not like that. This is so boring to put it on the river. This is so boring.
And wow, the 5 was close on the river, but luckily faded the 6 to win nearly a $700,000 pot. And my facial expressions cannot show it, do not show it, but I'm screaming on the inside as I have survived this hand and profited over $360,000 in a single hand is completely nuts. I am both celebrating so hard, while I also could just throw up from the sheer dollar amount of these pots. And moments later, we just witnessed a $1 million flip between Mike and Martin again. Is this even real life?
Look at that! Look at that! Texas Mike, finally!
And as the night is winding down, Texas Mike puts in the $8,000 straddle, and I pick up Ace King. What a premium, but once again, I'm just scared knowing my stack is always at risk at any moment. I raise to $20,000, and we get Santosh and Mike to make the call. Off to a flop of 8-4-3 Rainbow, which is complete whiff city for me. I decide to check it back and see a free turn card, which comes a board pairing 4 of hearts. The graphics are a little off in this specific hand, but Santos checks. Mike throws out a bet of $32,000 in the middle for a half pot bet. I don't think I can fold Ace King ever here, so I call, which doubles the pot size now to nearly $130,000, and heads up to the river, which is a random looking deuce. Mike doesn't slow down and fires out $110,000, and here we go again. Do I hero call off Ace King high for $110,000? I really want to, and this is a lot of money for no pair. I've done it before correctly, but is this another time for it? And luckily we have Coach Martin to help out.
Rampage in trouble. I kind of like it, actually. Guys, when you have pair of 4s on the board, you can't say no pair, okay? Giaro advice 87.
Then I measly slide in the chips for a call to make this a $350,000 pot, and what a way to end the night, winning this hand here with just ace high. And shortly after, the game comes to an end, and no one is happier than me, as my initial $50,000 buy-in ultimately ends up into $748,000. That is an incredible win of $698,000, the largest win of my entire life, with jaw-dropping pots. What a session, and what a crazy win to lock up today. But there is more action, because the following day, we play another game. It's 100, 200 blind, and the perpetual $500 squid on the side as well. This will get quite big as I start with another $50,000 buy-in, and upon sitting down, I immediately get involved with 5-3 of clubs under the gun. I raise it up to $1,000, and we get the hijack to 3-bet to $4,000. Action folds to me. I don't actually have much information against this opponent, so I decide to call, and we're going to be gambling a bit. Well, the flop comes King 4-3 2 spades, so I check with my bottom pair, and he throws $3,000 into the middle. Well, I've never folded a pair before in my entire life. I make the call, and the turn Queen of Hearts comes. I check once more, and now this time my opponent just goes all in for $13,000. I'm now in the tank. What do I do? What did I just get myself involved in?
Squid Game. I hate Squid Game.
Do I think that my opponent is capable of bluffing or having some sort of flush draw? Yeah, I think so. I don't really know how this opponent plays. But at the end of the day, I make the call with bottom pair, hearing it off, and the river Queen of Spades, and I pay Zach off immediately. I lose to his king, and it's a very bad read for me, very bad gambling spot, and immediately after sitting down, I lose this $40,000 pot, which is really not a great start, but with Squid Game going on, it all takes one hand to climb back. In the following hand, we have some squid dynamics on as the small blind decides to limp in, and Ling Ling in the big blind raises to 5,000. Ling Ling and I are the last two players in the squid, and with ace 5 offsuit next to act, I decide to 3-bet to 15,000. Action folds all the way to Ling Ling, and I'm looking at her stack. It's roughly $45,000 to $55,000, and she goes deep into the tank. It's pretty clear she does not have a super strong hand, and hey, once I 3-bet to ace 5 offsuit, I'm never folding, but she ends up sticking it all in. I snap call. We're sticking to the plan. I don't have a very strong hand, but here we are gambling because the Squid Game is on. We're on a flip here against her pocket deuces, and she decides to want to run it one time off to a flop, which comes an ace. That makes me feel so confident about winning this hand, and the turn with the King of Diamonds comes. Then the river 7 is clean, and just like that, we scoop a measly $111,000 pot, picking up right where we left off, running hot from the last session. Being victorious from that Squid Game here, there are 3 players who limp, and I'm on the button with ace queen offsuit and decide to raise things up to 1500. Action folds to Gaston, who decides to 3-bet now to 7400. Here, I decide to make the call with ace queen off. Very good hand to play post flop and in position, and we're going to a flop of king king deuce rainbow. Gaston throws out $3,600, and ace queen high feels like a very easy defend. There's a lot of overcards that we could hit to win, or we could just have the best hand right now. So we're in there, and the turn comes the 5 of hearts, bringing in a backdoor flush draw. Now my opponent slows down for a check, and I feel like I could go one of 2 ways to bluff or just check this back and realize my overcard equity. I decide to check and play passively. Well, the river ace of hearts comes, and I hit top pair. Backdoor flush does get there, but now Gaston checks one more time. And now sitting with my top pair, I imagine it's the best hand, and we're going to apply a lot of pressure from hands like pocket jacks or 10s and smaller pairs like this. So with about $18.8 thousand behind, I put him all in, and here we go, getting very greedy with the big size for value. It feels like I would only be betting here with a flush this big, but with top pair, we're trying our best to get paid as well. But this puts our opponent into the tank for forever, and 1 minute passes, 2 and 3, and then he finds the fold. So good for him for making the good fold. We do win another pot, but then action never stops in this beautiful game of Squid. Button raises to $3,000. Then Ling Ling on my right goes all in for $16.7 thousand, and like I said, Squid Game dynamics are crazy. We pick up pocket 5s next to act and isolate with an all-in sizing. The button ends up letting it go, luckily, and here we go. We are up against Ling Ling's any 2 cards, it seems like, and it's her king 7 offsuit for a $37,000 pot. Well, the flop comes king high, which does not really do me any favors, and the runner 4s comes where I lose this all in, I lose the flip, and she scoops a small rebate from the last all in that we played together. For context with this hand, I just won a quick $30,000 pot against Gaston, and it leads us to this one. Gaston on the cutoff raises to 1500. The small blind makes the call, and I feel very propelled to 3-bet and isolate here with ace 10 of diamonds in the big blind. I make it $11,000. Well, both straddlers fold all the way to Gaston, who has a monster hand, who only slow plays and makes the call in position. Small blind folds, and we're going heads up to a flop of 8-4 deuce all hearts. This is an ugly, ugly flop for ace 10 of diamonds. It's the wrong red suits, but here we go. It doesn't stop me from betting. I throw $7,000 into the middle, really just trying to find a way to win this pot. You know, I've already made it so big pre-flop. Maybe he just has, I don't know, king high that I could just bet off. Anyways, Gaston does make the call, which doesn't make me feel good about it, and the 7 of hearts is an action killer for me. Definitely slowing down now. I decided to check, hoping to get some information from my opponent, and when he ends up checking this back, I've definitely got some bad intentions here, and the river comes a board pairing 8. Now, with ace 10 high, I feel like I have a really good bluff candidate, as I have nothing, so, you know, if I have nothing and I don't think I can win the pot by checking, it's a good bluff candidate, right? I put my opponent all in, and he snap calls. Oh my goodness. Seeing the bad news, he's got aces with the ace of hearts. This is a tough one to swallow. Losing a $90,000 pot, it feels like I got trapped. It feels like I got sniped by my opponent, but he did play well to get me to commit this very bad bluff. And even after this hand, the cumulative winnings show on screen that I'm the current biggest winner now, up $43,000 after a couple hours of play. So I am tilted, I am steaming from that last hand, but here we go, moving on. There's an on-the-gun player who limps, and I pick up queens in the hijack and raise it to 1500. Well, we've got more action because Gaston 3-bets to $8,000 now, and Yo Viral goes all in for $24.6 thousand. Wow. No better time to pick up a premium like this. Gaston has about 155k behind, and we want to isolate him. We have queens, but it is a vulnerable hand. I go for a min-click 5-bet to $43,000. Luckily, that gets Gaston to get isolated and folds, so that leaves me with a flip against Yo Viral's premium ace king of spades. So with $57,000 in the middle, we need to win this flip as we are only going to see 5 cards, running it one time, and the flop could not be cleaner, and so is the turn and river. So we scoop another $57,000 pot, winning this flip. I feel like I'm losing all these hands that I play post-flop, but what matters is winning the all-in flips. So we're moving right along. We're trying to play some all-in pots because it seems like those are the only ones I can win. Cut off limps in for $400. I've got 10-8 of spades on the button and raise it to $3,000 as I'm one of the last players to need to win Squid, and I'm desperate to win it. But then Sakis realizes my dire situation and decides to apply a lot of pressure, 3-betting out of position to $17,000. Well, action folds to me. I'm not going anywhere. We're gambling. We need to win a Squid button. I make the call, and we're going to a flop, which comes 10, 10, 5. What a dream flop here with trips. No better timing as I'm desperate to win Squid, and hopefully we're up against a monster. Saki starts off with a bet of $8,000, and I find no reason to scare him off the pot just yet. We're playing in position, and we can play some different runouts. I make the call. Well, the turn comes the Jack of Diamonds, which is a little scary. Considering that Sakis has a button, I would imagine he's going to have a really strong hand, and I lose to pocket jacks. But anyways, he continues to throw $18,000 in the middle, which is another very small bet, and I definitely thought about raising here, but once again, I decided to just make the call. If my opponent could somehow be bluffing, we're going to give him some rope. So with nearly a pot-sized bet behind, we're going to see a river card, which comes the Queen of Spades. And this is an ugly, ugly board for just trip tens. We lose to ace king, we lose to pocket queens, we lose to pocket jacks, we lose to a lot of things, but then Saki blasts off, putting my entire stack at risk, and I didn't come this far to fold trip tens. If he's got a better hand than me, then I'm willing to lose it all. I make the call, and he shows me king 6 offsuit. What a dream to win this hand. I had no idea that he was actually bluffing this much, but this is one of the largest pots of the night. $272,000 pot coming my way.
In my next life, I want to be Rampage. When I grow up, I want to be Rampage. I mean, this guy, just unreal.
It's nice to know that the sun is still shining down on me over the past 2 weeks. After years of turmoil and pain, this feels unbelievable to get out of the hole early on today and continue the win streak of winning these massive, massive pots. And just 5 minutes later, we get involved once more with ace jack of clubs in the hijack. I raise it up to $1,000. Cutoff makes the call, and Saki's on the button 3-bets to $6,000. He just might be steaming after showing a crazy bluff before, so I'm here to battle with a very nice playable hand. We make the call, and we're going to a flop of Queen Jack 7 2 spades. We've got middle pair, and that is enough, I think. I check it over to Saki's, and he throws $6,000. This seems like a very fair price to continue. We are going to be calling and hoping to improve. Well, the turn is the 3 of hearts, which is a complete blank, and once again, I check. Saki's feels steaming, and he's not going to give up by blasting out $36,000. And now I'm just really torn on what I want to do. I think emotionally, I feel like folding makes a lot of sense. Given the strength of my hand and the size of his bet, a jack could easily fold. But we didn't come here to fold. We came here to battle. We came here to try our best to play these big pots with very marginal hands like this. Ace jack feels a little uncomfortable here, but like I said, our opponent could be tilted after that last hand, so I make the call, and with $97,000 in the middle, the river is a king of diamonds. This feels bad. One of the worst cards in the deck for me to see. There's a lot of connectivity here, and if he was even bluffing with ace king, I'm behind now, so I check once more, and my opponent goes all in for $64,000, and I just snap fold here. What's nice is that he needed to win a squid button, so I'm going to see his cards either way, and he shows ace 10 offsuit, binking the gutter ball on the river to win this pot. But at least I made the right calls. I put it in chips when I was ahead, and I was able to fold when I was behind, so we get to rebate after the previous hand. You just can't win them all. The action is still brewing as the hijack limps in for $400. Cutoff limps, button limps, and I've got pocket 3s in the small blind and call as well. We're playing a limped pot here, and we're going 6 ways to a flop of ace jack queen 2 diamonds. No one seems interested in this pot right now as everyone checks through, and we're going to see a turn which comes the 7 of diamonds. So the flush completes, and I decided to take a stab at this. No one else than me will want to be able to try to bluff off 7 players in this pot, but I throw $2,500 into the middle, and the player on my left in the big blind decides to make the call, which is quite scary as everyone ends up folding. I would expect him to have a better hand hand than most because he just called with a bunch of players left to act behind. So we're going to a river which comes the 7 of clubs. And here's the point. Do I think my pair of 3s is good, or do I feel like I need to really bluff at this? And if I'm going to bluff, it's going to have to be a big sized bet. I throw an overbet of $12,000 in the middle, trying to get a queen to fold, a jack to fold. Anything here, please just fold. But here, Zach is in the tank. He's sitting with just a queen, and he ends up making the right call, which is just sad. Oh, I'm the only person that would ever bluff into so many players, and it doesn't get through. He wins this $30,000 pot against me, and it seems like the momentum might be slipping away over the past 2 hands. But even with this downturn, we're still up on the session, but we've got action because we've got an under the gun and hijack player limping in, and I pick up pocket aces in the cutoff, and it's a perfect time to regain some energy, especially when people might think that I'll be tilted here. So I raise it up to $1,500, and we get Sakis in the small blind to put in another raise to $7,000. This is a dream situation, but then Gaston next to act 4 bets to $20,000. What is going on? Both of these players are sitting with piles of money behind, and we've got the best hand in poker. Here, now, I'm next to act, and seeing this dreamy action, there's part of me that wants to slow play and just make the call, but it's just a little too dangerous with how much money is left behind. If I think that Gaston is never able to fold and only has good hands, we certainly have to put in more money. So I put in a 5 bet, and I click it to $40,000, trying to really bait Gaston to be in here. Sakis ends up making the fold, but this leaves Gaston in the tank. It feels like he's already a little uncomfortable, but ends up making the call. He's got about $72,000 behind, and we're going to a flop of 7-3-4. 2 clubs out there. This is as safe as humanly possible, and one of the beautiful things about having aces here is that I don't think my opponent's going to have ace-king too often. So I decided to go for a bet, which is actually a little too big in hindsight. I throw $40,000 in the middle. If I think my opponent is weighted towards overpairs, why not just pile the most amount of money now? Gaston goes into the tank once more, but ends up ultimately going all in for $72,000, and I make the snap call, and we've got a $230,000 pot here with the best hand in poker, and we've got a massive chance and a massive favorite to win this one. Gaston has to run it 2 times. We happily oblige, as I definitely am ahead here.
How about a club for a sweat? Not a club. He needs the queen of spades or queen of hearts, or he is felted, and that man there will win this nearly $250,000 pot. The river is the 3 of spades, and the sun run continues for Rampage.
And with 2 clean runouts, we scoop the entire pot. What an incredible way to stack Gaston with aces. He got me before when he had aces himself, but that was simply just a loan. And he's paid a lot of interest, as this pot is much bigger and much more significant than the one I lost to Gaston. It feels amazing to scoop this $232,000 pot. We're still sun running, and somehow I find a way to be up over $200,000 again on this night, where I thought the game would play a little smaller.
Take a look at this leaderboard here. Rampage. He is now up over $1.5 million in these high stakes games in Vegas.
What an amazing cooler to be on the right side of, as aces scoops the pot over queens in this 5-bet pot. GG to Gaston, unlucky mate, but it's our time to sun run. With one more hand to go in this stream, we get a crazy one where Ling Ling limps in under the gun, and I've got 6-9 of hearts. It's a very meany trolly hand to play. I call 2. Well, the button raises to $2,400. Ling Ling makes the call, and once again, Squid dynamics are here. I've got to gamble. Let's make the call 2 for $2,400. So we're going 3 ways to a flop, which is insane, of 10-6-4, 2 hearts. Pair, flush draw, lots of opportunities in the world, but action checks through sadly, so we get to see a turn, which comes the deuce of hearts. We bink the 9-high flush already. Ling Ling starts off with a bet of $4,000, and I think she's really desperate to win the Squid Game, so I decide to raise it up to $15,000. There's no need to slow play here. I think I have the best hand, and when the button folds, back onto Ling Ling, who takes her time, but then ends up finding another raise. She raises once more to $32,000, and this is actually quite scary. Of course, I'm sitting with the flush, but it's not the best flush, and is Ling Ling either suiciding it off with a crazy bluff, or does she just have a better hand than I? We're playing for a lot of money behind here, and I decide to obviously call. There's no situation where I do anything else, but I'm definitely on the conservative side here, and we're going to a river which comes the queen of clubs. With about $70,000 in the middle, now Ling Ling decides to check, which really feels even scarier. Is this check a give up of a bluff? Is it the check that's just going to be trapping? I'm in my mind all over the place. And now, how much do I want to bet with the 9 high flush? I mean, most players don't 3-bet the turn with complete air. But maybe Ling Ling special, but I go for a pot size bet of $70,000. We're getting a little greedy. We either want her to call with 2 pair, we want her to call with a hand that was maybe bluffing, who knows, but she's in the tank for about 3 minutes here and going on and on about what she wants to do. But at the end of the day, she ends up making the fold, which is pretty good because she just had a pair of deuces, and somehow it seems like my big sizing almost got me paid because it looked like a bluff. But we scoop up another pot and we will win $36,000 in this hand, and I'm not greedy. I'm happy to run hot, I'm happy to win money, but here we are. At the end of the night, the graphics that show are a little bit off. I bought in for $100,000 in this game, and we're cashing out for $333,000, which is a profit of $233,000, combined with the win of $698,000 the night before, caps off the most insane heater of my entire life, walking away with a $931,000 profit from the past 2 days. Thank you so much for watching. What an incredible weekend to share with you guys.